right, welcome back to the show. We're doing 2 in 1 day today. First time doing it. I think that'll be kind of the norm going forward for us. It's easier to bang these out back to back, I think, than set everything up once a week. So this week, I need to open my browser. I'm telling Mike a story. Not really a story. I'm going to go over a very important person's life in Maine history.
Do I know this person?
I will slightly judge you if you have not heard this person's name.
So just lie.
No. You lie to me enough.
All right. All right, who is it?
Cornelia Crosby. Nothing?
Crosby.
What about Fly Rod Crosby?
I've heard that.
Aha.
I've heard that.
First registered Maine guide was a woman.
Yes. I knew that. I didn't know her name.
Yeah.
But I did
Fly
know
Rod
that.
Crosby.
Yeah.
So something I'd like to do with you next year is they've got a trail up in, it starts in Strong and ends in Rangeley. And it goes through all the rivers. It's pretty much her guide spots.
Like a established trail?
I don't think it's all the way through yet.
Yeah.
But we could probably make it. I mean, it's following rivers, so.
Is it a river trail or like a trail?
Most of it's a river trail.
Yeah.
Well, it's a trail next to a river.
Yeah.
So
not like a canoe trail?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think you could canoe most of it. But so I'm just going to go over her history, basically. I think this is an interesting thing. It took me moving up there to learn about her.
Yeah.
I lived in Strong for a little bit, lived in Kingfield for a little bit, so that area is pretty special to me, and it's interesting her dynamic to that area and how important she is without a lot of people realizing it to that, or the establishment of that area. So cut in whenever you have a question or something you want to say. So Cornelia Thurza Crosby was born in Phillips, November 10th, 1854, to Lemuel Crosby and Thurza Cottle Porter. Porter's a pretty big name up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Middle names are weird.
I don't know where Thurza comes from.
No. And Cottle?
Yeah.
All right.
Going with it. Both from Strong. She was preceded by her brother Ezekiel, 9 years senior. Soon after her birth, her father contracted consumption and then parentheses tuberculosis. I don't know. I want to look into that a little bit more. I was a little bit rushed on this one, so I'm brushing over this. I bought 2 books on this lady.
All right.
And I'm going to come back to it because also, I'm going to leave the rest because it's going to ruin the story.
All right.
Ezekiel also took sick with tuberculosis and died in 1868 at the age of 23. Early on, she was prescribed fresh air, as much time in the outdoors as possible. They didn't elaborate on that, if she got sick too, or if it was just the fact of losing family. She was depressed. I don't know. I'm hoping that the book will open.
Yeah. Because it sounds like doctor prescribed or like just.
Right. Well, they used to prescribe fresh water to people back in the day.
Yeah.
Like that's how Poland Spring started.
Yeah.
Because they had clean water.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Early on, during a particularly bad spell, Fly Rod was carried up to the foot of Mount Blue, where she spent some time recovering. It was here that she caught her first speckled beauty, Crosby's affectionate nickname for native brook trout in Mount Blue Stream. So that was kind of where she fell in love with fly fishing and fish. And
so wait, like on the top in the lake?
As far as I can tell. Yeah.
I always wondered if there was actually native populations. I know they fly in, like helicopter stock that pond.
Yeah,
but
most of those areas have them unless invasives have come in.
Yeah.
It's the invasives that really fuck it up.
Yeah.
After her father died and then her brother, she lived with her mother until attending St. Catherine's School, an Episcopal school, girls' school in Augusta. After graduating, she returned to Phillips, worked as a bank clerk, participating in community affairs, and carefully tending to her uncertain health. So, I don't know. I can't figure out the health side of this. Like, it sounds like she's, like, barely living and then becomes a legend later on in life.
And she started in banking, which is what I started in. So there's still hope that.
Yeah, you might not end up as a piece of shit.
Right.
We can only hope. Though known informally as Fly Rod a few years earlier, Crosby published under that title for the first time in July 19th, 1889. In a weekly column on outdoor sports, primarily recounting her own fishing adventures. So that was that other part that I didn't want to give away earlier, is up in Phillips, apparently they have a lot of her old articles. Oh, that's cool. Which that's what I wanted this originally to do. I just couldn't find anything online that was actually going over it. In 1897, Crosby was employed by the Maine Sportsman Fish and Game Association to increase membership to 1,000 and by Maine Railroads to participate in the third annual Sportsman's Expedition. Simultaneously, a bill was working its way through the legislature to institute a guide license and fee program. When it passed in March, she was given license number 1, becoming the first licensed Maine guide.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Now, do you know, like, other states, how long there had been guides before? Was this like
That's
a relatively new thing? Or
I would imagine Maine was one of the first.
Yeah, you would think so.
We're talking turn of the 19th or 20th century?
Yeah.
Yeah, 20th century.
But yeah, almost 1900.
So primarily how she went about her job was like with the railroad.
Yeah.
The railroad didn't want her pushing the railroad. They wanted her pushing the destination that the railroad would get you to. Because this is pre-cars.
Yeah.
Like, if she sold Rangeley, they had to use their railroad.
Right.
There's no sense in selling people on a railroad. You know what I mean? Which that's a fucking awesome gig.
Yeah.
Like, hey, go sell fishing to these people. We have a lot of money. Because that's the thing, is like, it's easy to sell these things, but to find the money to get it done is tough. Because the people invested in fishing don't have money. So the people invested in railroads do.
Yeah. Now, do you know if like recreation was an afterthought of this railroad, or is that the reason that this railroad was?
I think they realized. I'll look into it a little bit more. It's a good question, but I think they realized that the best way to. This actually kind of goes in line with last week's episode. Yeah. But the best way to develop that area was to start with recreation. Because other than that, it's just logging going on up there. I don't even know how much of that was going on at that time. Yeah. You know,
I guess I have a skewed perception of what it was like back there, but I don't like. I have a hard time imagining 130 years ago that there was a lot of people that would pay for recreation.
Yeah,
that's cool. Like,
yeah, I think people did it for longer. I mean, this is post. It's hard to live.
Yeah.
In America.
Yeah.
You know, but pre-tech boom, really.
Yeah.
And she's going to Boston and New York. So I think that was the big thing back in the day, is people would come up for the summer.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like rich families would just move up here for 3-4 months. You know?
Well, yeah, you can't come up from New York in the 1890s and have a weekend and then go back.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Fly Rod's mother was Porter, was a Porter, not the type you used.
Oh, okay.
No, last name. And through her, she was connected to some of the earliest settlers in Strong. The Porter family owned and operated wood-turning and matchstick mills, built iconic buildings in the downtown area, and served the community in the House of Representatives, State Senate, and the Governor's Council. Oh. So they weren't nobodies in the area. Like, if she wasn't who she was, she probably would have just died as a kid.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that kind of makes it easier to be the type of woman that she was in that area. Is like, she's already settled in that area. Right. Like, she's a part of those towns. And those towns aren't big. The downtown of Strong is a couple of stores and that wood turning mill. You know, there's a pellet mill now.
I can't even picture downtown Strong.
Because you have to turn off from the main road to get onto it.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the same with Phillips, too. Phillips, not so much, actually.
Yeah.
But, so for people that don't know, Strong is pretty much I wouldn't even say halfway. I'd say closer to the Farmington side
Yeah.
of in between Farmington and Rangeley. And it's a really cool area. There's a lot in between those two cities. Not cities. I mean, Farmington's kind of a city, but
Yeah.
there's a lot in between that just gets brushed over. One of my favorites is Orbiton Stream. I know
Yep.
you've brought that up to me before
Yep.
through Simon and all that, but that place is
Yeah.
something out of a 1900s
Yeah.
postcard.
And now Porter's up there too, right? Isn't there a town Porter?
Yeah. Is it in that area?
I feel like it is. But maybe I'm just... Because that would make a whole lot of sense.
No.
No, it's
Why
not.
am I even thinking that? That's past Cornish.
Oh, yeah.
The only reason I
yeah.
thought that is because you said it.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe? No.
I'm terrible with Maine geography.
I'm getting better at it.
Yeah. Like, I know all these places. I just could never tell
Right.
you where they are.
So this next chunk is one of my favorite parts. You'll know why. Miss Crosby owes much of her success to the photos taken by Edward R. Starbird of Strong. Edwin, born in 1853 to 1921, so he was like 2 years younger
Yep.
than Crosby. So they were right around the same age. Was born to Amos and Mary Jane Gilkey Starbird in Freeman Village. Freeman's like in between Kingfield and Strong.
Yeah.
So it's like up in the mountains in the Hardy
Yeah.
area of that. Today, Freeman Township is located directly north of Strong. Starbird started out as a teacher, but soon turned to photography and studied under Francis Stanley in Lewiston, Maine. That guy's well known.
Yeah.
I had never heard of Edward Starbird. He's got
No.
some pretty cool pictures.
Yeah.
though.
Brittany's about to pull in. He knows that. Yeah.
So this might be a whiny episode, people. We're working on it. So he returned to Farmington soon afterwards and opened a studio specializing in landscape and portrait photography. Starbird released a series of photographs called The Woods of Maine, which he worked on for 20 years between 1883 and 1903. I miss that type of shit.
Yeah.
Like, that guy took his time and made that.
That's crazy.
You know, he wasn't out there every day shooting. Like, he had living to do.
Yeah.
You know, 600 photographs. I shoot that in a day.
Yeah.
You know,
how
I could
hard
shoot
is-
600 usable photographs in a day if I was really focused.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. What was the process then to?
I don't know. I need to figure out what
Yeah.
he was using equipment wise. If it was like old glass backed,
Yeah.
you know, I'd love to get one of those cameras.
Like the pinhole cameras we made in high school.
Yeah, I didn't get to do that.
No,
No,
those were fun.
I got kicked out of photography class.
It makes sense.
I got into photography, and then a senior wanted to take the class, so they kicked me out of it. And when they
Oh.
did that, like, I was buying cameras at the time.
Yeah.
Like, I was right into it.
Oh.
I just had that mentality of, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
I'm not taking
doing
another
it.
fucking photo
Yeah.
class ever.
Yeah.
And now I'm here. So these 600 photographs were taken all over the Moosehead and Rangeley Lakes region. And, like, out of massive canoes and shit. Like, the photos I saw of it, it was like backcountry stuff with big, heavy boats.
Yeah. Yeah, like those canoes that Errol Bean's got hanging
Yeah.
up, like those 20-something
Right.
foot.
Yeah. Fly Rod is present in a few of them and occasionally accompanied Starbird on his trips into the Maine woods. He was the only... There's no mention of her love life through this whole thing. She didn't die with a husband.
Yep.
I don't know, like, she might have just not cared about
Yeah.
relationships. Or I'm wondering if they were closer than is led on in this. Or she could have been a lesbian. Which you would not put that in the history books back in the day.
No, no.
I like fly fishing
Yeah.
and eating pussy.
Yeah.
So I forget if I put this in here, but when those trade shows she'd go to, she'd wear a shin-high dress.
Shin-high.
Shin-high. Very suggestive for the day.
Really?
Very suggestive for the day.
Interesting.
And I mean, she was wearing it because she fly fishes.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want a wet dress.
No.
So it was apparently she dressed the part for this.
Interesting.
Like a deer hide, green dyed deer hide skirt.
Yeah.
Was what she was wearing there, which I'm sure back in the day was like a check fucking me out at a sportsman's thing.
Right.
And then the other thing, I'll have to show you pictures of it. People definitely go look this stuff up. But they like built a log cabin in this sportsman's trade convention, like one that I would live in.
In the convention?
Yeah.
Was it an indoor convention or outdoor convention?
It looked indoor, but they like built this like corner of a town. You know, it was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a log cabin, so it was all probably like a kit.
Yeah.
But just the moving of that.
Yeah,
like, we're talking about for the railroad, so they were probably railroaded that fucking thing down there, you know? Like, it shows how much Maine was willing to do to sell the tourism of Maine, which is what I find interesting about this.
Yeah, for sure.
Mostly. And the fact that our first friggin' guide was a woman.
That's
like
amazing.
And there's nothing but good shit said about her up in that region. Like, everything that has to do with her is good. So, like,
through some of your research on this, there wasn't like a man that was maybe shortly after that kind of overshadows her career.
No.
Like everybody.
Like, you go up to that and stuff's written after her.
That's
like,
awesome.
dude, she has a trail.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
like,
really cool.
The trail that defines that region is named after her.
It's badass.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought so too.
It's crazy that, like, and I feel like we've gotten better in the last 10 years, but I know growing up, like, you know, people look down upon like women that hunted or women that fished.
Right.
And it's like, I didn't know it at that time, but do these people even know? Like, no, the first guide was...
Right. She shot the last caribou. The last legal caribou. She probably didn't shoot the last caribou. But last legal caribou hunt was her.
That's wild.
Yeah.
When did, well, I apologize if we're getting to this. When did she die?
Cornelia Fly Rod Crosby died in Armistice Day. It's almost like we know what we're doing. On Armistice Day? I don't know what that is. I should have looked it up. I didn't.
Not arborist.
Armistice.
Armistice Day? Like our Mistis or...
Veterans Day.
Oh, interesting.
I hate that in history. When they're like, I'm going to use this dated word that isn't in our vernacular anymore.
Yeah.
Just to show that I've researched.
Yeah.
In 1946, it was Armistice Day.
So she died in 46.
1946, at the Marcotte home in Lewiston. In her final years, she had struggled with poor health, failing eyesight, and had suffered a nervous breakdown in 1926. She was no longer able to live in Phillips year-round, but would return to St. Anthony's Cottage every summer. Even that, dude, like, the breakdown in 1926... I worry about that shit a lot looking forward. Like, when you are someone like who this woman was and you realize that you're done doing it, like you can't anymore.
Yeah, you're going to have a break.
I don't know how I'm going to deal with it. Yeah. Like, unless I have my little cabin set up and I'm happy, I'm going to fucking jump off a cliff and into a Screw-Auger Falls probably. Be a good...
Well, even now being young, like when I think of all the... crazier things I did as a kid. Like, you know, the crazy days of my skiing were behind me just physically.
Dude, if I tried getting you to do rails, if I hit you up this winter and I was like, dude, you want to go set up this handrail? It's a 10 flat 10. You'd be like, I'll hit the second 10. Yeah.
And I remember, like, I think it was last year, kind of like just going over that in my head and like, you almost start panicking, like, holy crap. It's never going to be me anymore.
Because we didn't... Some of it's because, like for me, I wanted to put out a full video of all street stuff, and it's like, that won't happen in my lifetime now, you know? And part of that's why I want to get this Votem thing going, though, is so I can make that opportunity for younger people. Yeah. So they don't miss out on that. Because if somebody had a platform for me to have put something like that out with back in the day, it would have made this tenfold easier. If I had a little bit of guidance that it was like, Jake, we need 15 clips from you per week, I would have been like, all right, boys, done. Pack it up. You heard them, you know, and we would have done it. So.
Yeah, when you're trying to do all ends yourself, it's a little bit harder.
Yeah, and your friends are not, selling something like that to your friends is almost the hardest part.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Like,
and
bro,
if
I
you
just wanna
haven't,
ski.
right, exactly. Like the amount of sick shit that you guys did and didn't wait for me to set the camera up
Yeah.
would infuriate me. You just have your headphones on and you good?
Yeah.
No. White balancing right now.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
blue. Anyways, though, so that breakdown, I'm curious to see if was part of it.
Yeah.
So she would return to St. Anthony's Cottage every summer. In the winter, she stayed with friends in Lewiston. The Rangeley record ran her obituary, ending with this message: Rangeley has lost one of its most famous people, and America has lost its most famous woman sportsman. May her soul rest in peace. So she was nationally important,
Yeah.
you know?
How do we not celebrate that more here? Like, I've heard the name.
There's a Fly Rod Crosby Day
Yeah.
up
That's
there.
cool.
Like, it's a local thing,
Yeah.
you know?
And I guess
And that's part of what I really love about those towns. I don't mean to cut you
Oh, you're
off,
fine.
but you'll come across these little towns in the woods and they'll just be celebrating and you don't know why. And then you ask someone and you're like, oh, this is a really like important day for us. And we still value community here, you know?
Yeah, and I guess for me, like, I'm into outdoor sports, but not those type of outdoor sports, like hunting and fishing. Like, maybe if I was more involved in that community, I would know this person more.
Right. But I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think your average hunter in Maine is aware of Fly Rod Crosby.
Yeah.
And, I mean, everything sounds like she was rad up there.
Yeah.
It sounds like everyone liked her up there, you know? So this last bit, the High Peaks Alliance, located in Strong and Phillips, advocates for public access to backcountry recreation.
Yeah.
So they're on that side of stuff that I had kind of brought up on the last episode of we don't have public lands, but we are retaining a lot of rights to private lands, which in some cases is better if you've got somebody that actually cares about the land owning it.
In the High Peaks Alliance, that's the one like headed up to Sugarloaf. Right,
I think it's
right
like
side.
Sugarloaf to Rangeley.
Yeah.
I think it's that whole like.
Well, I'm saying they got that. They have like a booth.
Oh yeah. By
There's like a
airport.
field. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've gotten some maps from there.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of cool stuff up there. This small grassroots organization has developed a new commemorative trail called the Fly Rod Crosby Trail, which will eventually stretch 45 miles and connect the communities of Strong, Avon, Phillips, Madrid, Sandy River, Dallas, and Rangeley through backcountry hiking and multi-use trails.
Jeez.
So that's a good like week trip.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it's the thing that's cool about it is you're fairly close to the main stretch there.
Yeah.
So you could, like, we could have beer dropped off.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it'd be a fun trip.
I think so.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, having somebody drop us off some boats to be able to take a day and explore that, because that's the type of trail. A trail with history, I would like to slow down a trip. And
Yeah, you don't want to be flying through it.
Experience what she, you know, sit in a boat and think about the fishing that happened here.
Yeah.
And I mean, that region is famous because of fishing.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Get some old fly rods and try to hack my way through.
Yeah.
Fishing
I gotta
like
get
that.
you a fly rod.
Yeah.
The goal of the trail is to help residents and visitors take an active interest in preserving the unique character of High Peaks communities and resources. Local efforts such as the Strong Historical Society, High Peaks Alliance, and Rangeley Region Sports and Guide Association, that's a long name. The HPARRSG. Hipparagsag.
That's a terrible acronym.
Just call yourself Hipparagsag.
Sorry, initialization, not an acronym.
Associations speak to Miss Crosby's legacy of conservation, economic development, and a commitment to preservation of the Maine woods experience for future generations.
Cool.
So, to link that to our last thing, you know, sometimes instead of giving the rights to the land to the federal government, it's just a matter of us keeping our history alive.
Yeah.
You know, it's when we stop appreciating and celebrating a place that people start taking advantage of it.
Absolutely.
If enough people are invested in the preservation of a space, we're not going to let big companies come in.
No.
And you cause enough stink and a big company is just going to be like, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, and ultimately, like, people that care about a place are going to be the ones that can maintain and preserve a place much better than anybody else can.
Right. And this, I mean, that's a perfect...
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a nice little sliver of how we can preserve our space is build a history trail.
Yeah.
Like, I'm down for the plaques in the middle of the woods that are like, hey,
Yeah.
like, this is blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like there's one on Avery Peak in the Bigelows, the Byron Avery
Yep.
plaque. And, like, it's in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And we were hiking up there, and then there's just this giant plaque.
Yeah.
And then you start looking at it, and, like, really, that's one, if you've not looked it up, he was like...
I've heard the name, but...
He was the one, and I could be wrong on a lot of this, but essentially was the one that finished the AT in this region, or pushed the AT down in this region. I forget which way it was going, but was pivotal in connecting the AT in this region.
So, I didn't even pick up on it when you had said it last week, and I'm curious about it. This has nothing to do with this, but what... You said the International AT?
Yeah.
So what's the deal with that? I thought it ended at Baxter.
The Appalachian Trail ends at Baxter, and then the IAT, the International Appalachian Trail, picks up there, and that continues on into like Canada, through like Labrador, and then it jumps across the Atlantic and picks back up in like Scotland or somewhere around there.
And then goes all through Europe?
I don't know how far it goes, and I think from what I remember is it's like kind of pieced together right now. It's not as designated, but from what I know is every year it gets longer and longer.
Right.
And you don't hear about, I know a decent amount of people that have done the AT. I don't know of anybody that knows of anybody that knows of anybody that's done the IAT.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's probably already established stuff over there that's just as much of an accomplishment.
Oh, absolutely.
Why do this bootlegged AT?
Yeah.
When you said that, I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like editing it later, and I sit down at night after we do these, and I just listen to them and do other stuff, and it like stopped me. I was like, International AT?
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
And it's probably a little bit cooler than the AT because there's so many people on the AT, and at least
and you're literally going into the backcountry.
Oh yeah, the small section we were on, it was not really.
Oh, you did some of it?
Yeah, that section through the Katahdin Winds and Waters is after.
I guess I didn't put that.
Yeah,
together.
that's all.
Okay.
Like pieced on the IAT, and like there's some posts every once in a while, but no real trail markers. It was a network of like logging roads, and from what I know, like there's some sections that are really well maintained, and then there's some that it's like essentially just a bushwhack through because there's not many people that go on it.
Yep. Yeah, so that's more my. I'd love to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not dealing with the thousands of people that are out on the AT.
Yeah. And you're seeing, it's not, like, if it's not a trail, you're going to see some shit that's like, this is nature. This isn't, some of the stuff you come across when I was up 2 years ago. And I also wonder about these types of things in relation to Fly Rod Crosby is I was up and I had stopped in between Jackman and Moosehead, or like Rockwood there. Okay. You know that road that connects the two? I was like probably halfway through that and found this little stream that I could paddle upriver on. Yeah. And I paddled upriver for 3 or 4 miles. And then I came to this like waterfall that I had to portage. Porter is like the word of the episode or the and I get out and I'm lugging and then I look around and it's just bear shit all around me, like everywhere around me. And I'm like, no fucking shit, you're at a waterfall in the middle of nowhere. Like this thing just fishes here all the time.
Oh yeah.
I forget what I was talking about with that before, but it was like, I wonder with her how much stuff like that happens.
Oh yeah.
And how much more they were just paying attention. She probably would have saw it the moment she got out of her boat.
Yeah.
Been like,
Yeah, whereas now, like, nobody.
Right.
I mean, not nobody, but.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there like, do I turn around?
Right,
like, do I keep going? Like, the water's right there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and like in this modern day sportsman era, like I feel like, at least in hiking, is people have kind of distanced themselves from those situations more. Whereas before it was, I feel like, probably much closer. But now...
Yeah, they were establishing their own trails, and a trail wasn't necessarily what we see a trail as today.
For sure.
You know, I do it all the time with Ava. I'll just go out into the woods, and I'll walk for like 50 feet, and then I just stop and start looking for a trail.
Yeah.
And there's always a trail.
Yeah.
Always a trail.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just start following that. And if you're out in the middle of nowhere, those trails end up at water.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think they're fun to follow. And it's so easy to do nowadays with your cell phone.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just download the map for the area.
Yeah, you're not going to get
Make
lost.
sure you get a full battery. I've never gotten lost doing this.
No. Not get turned around, but...
Yeah,
not
but that's
lost.
half the fun of it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'll do it on my daily walk trail. I'll go in, it's pretty much a loop, and I'll go into the middle. And I always laugh when I come out somewhere that I didn't think I'd come out on the trail. And I'm like, oh,
and
you didn't know where you were.
No.
Like,
and you can find some crazy stuff like Simon from the Appalachian Trust they were doing a bushwhack. I forget even where it was, but they stumbled upon this lean-to cabin in the woods.
Yep.
And he's like, it was, I forget, like 50 or 60 years old. And so he started talking to some local guys in the area, sending them some pictures. And what they found out is it was an old hut on the AT.
Okay.
But around that time, they rerouted the AT to somewhere else. And like locals knew about this, but nobody else knew. And it was like still perfectly preserved. Like locals would go and camp there, but there's no trail to it, nothing.
That's
and they were
awesome.
just doing a bushwhack and like stumbled upon this place.
So is that his job pretty much, to bushwhack? Like, I'm sure there's office work too, but...
Yeah, a lot of it is because like they have easements or they own lands that surrounds the AT, and every year or 2 years, depending on the easement, they'll have to go out and monitor it, make sure people aren't, building
Growing
structures. Doing that, building structures, building trails that aren't supposed to be there. A lot of it's bushwhacking.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
and
fun.
you go and do that with him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the bushwhacks he'll want to do, with somebody else. Like,
Yeah, it's not smart to go do that by yourself. I do it all the fucking time.
yeah, it's not just the getting lost, but if you're out there and you
break your leg,
yeah,
you're fucked.
You
roll an ankle, and some of these places you're not getting out.
No. No, and it's really hard to have people come find you.
Yep. Yeah, and sometimes, like, I mean, they'll come get you, but if you're far enough out,
Yeah.
like in Alaska, they say no to some people.
Yeah. Yeah, here it might not be that, but it's like, it ain't today.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
But,
Yeah, I think that stuff's humbling, though.
Oh,
It really brings everything back into perspective of, like recreation it's gotten to a tourism side of things where, like, I don't know, you're not going backcountry skiing and bitching at anybody about the conditions.
no.
And I know for a fact that you've bitched at people at Sugarloaf for their fucking wind holds.
I have.
It was windy and you turned the fucking lifts off.
Yeah, I was...
Then my lazy friend was like, I'm not fucking hiking. I'm going to smoke weed in my fucking apartment.
Yeah, I was not as appreciative of the outdoors years ago.
No, I knew where you were coming from on that.
Yeah,
it was
it's
like
just-
your last ski day of the year.
Yeah,
you had
paying
taken
$100
time off.
Yeah.
To me, I worked that day,
Yeah.
you know?
There was I just saw a good quote about that kind of humbled me a little bit, and I realized, well, I'm just an asshole. And I'll
Do you have it?
I think I do. Because it was all about, like, when we were younger, there was a lot of times where you did not care about the weather or anything like that. And then as I grew older and, like, had to take time off from work or whatever,
Right.
I would get a little bit... yeah, there's actually a few things about this quote I really like. So it's from Ben White, who I actually don't even know.
Ben White, we went to school with Ben White.
Yeah, I don't think it's that one.
Oh.
Yeah. But complaining about the weather is a waste of energy. Just smile about it. You can't get hurt going fast. It's a sudden stop that gets you. And nobody cares if you're accomplished at X when they value Y. So there's a few different
So
things.
just don't be a bitch is what he's saying?
Pretty much. And like, obviously don't be a bitch about the weather. And then, nobody cares if you're accomplished at X when they value Y is a really good one. Like, there's so many people that like, yeah, I'm so good at this and this, but like that thing doesn't matter to what like we're doing.
We've all had those conversations where you're super excited to tell someone about something and they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Yeah.
But realizing that it sucks and that their opinion doesn't really fucking matter. Right?
Yeah. But it's like, I wish I had embraced those days. Like, a Sugarloaf one is perfect. Like, I was just mad.
You were visibly angry.
Yeah.
And Drew was feeding it.
Oh, obviously.
You know, I didn't care.
Yeah. And that could have been a way, way better day. I don't even remember what we ended up doing.
Yeah, so that's part of it too, is maybe you didn't have a good time in the day, but like my memory of it was fun. We drove up to Eustis. I showed you the Cathedral Pines.
Oh, yeah.
I have a photo of you and Drew that it's one of my favorites. You're just sitting standing up on a snowbank.
Yeah.
Probably bitching about me taking pictures.
Over Flagstaff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And it looks like, I don't know, it's just a good memory.
For sure.
know? And I'm realizing that more and more as I get older is that that's the reason to take the photos is the memory. And I think we're losing a lot of the memory in this whole Instagram culture of let me take it to post it right now.
Yeah.
Even how I take photos now, the mentality has changed from let me capture this.
Yeah.
So I have it to like, how can I show this off on Instagram right now?
Yeah.
Which there's a time and a place for it. I mean, if I'm working on something for a client, I have to work in that headspace. But
Yeah.
it's part of why I do what I do in the woods now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'll take my camera a lot of days and not shoot anything because it's just, I don't know, some days I'm enjoying the day. And if the moment's not epic enough, but I'm not willing to leave that camera behind because if I see two moose and...
Yeah. But it is funny, like, since I ditched all social media, I take a lot less pictures. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I take a picture for the right reason now. Like, I take a picture just so I can remember, like, being in that spot.
Right.
And before, exactly to your point, is like, okay, what picture can I take so that I can get, 100 likes?
Right.
Which is validating for no fucking reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I never really cared about the picture I was taking.
Yeah. Yeah. But it has gotten a lot of people into photography.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the stuff you can do with a cell phone now is impressive. I don't bother bringing a wide angle lens in the kayak anymore.
No.
I can just use my phone for that. And then I get my telephoto on the camera and it covers my bases.
Yeah.
I want to do one of these out of the kayaks next year. Like with mics. Like, I want to set both of our kayaks up. I think it'd be so fun.
That would be sweet.
Just get shit-faced.
Lose all the equipment.
No. We'll have a porter.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Maine's history.
Yeah, it's cool.
I feel like I'm going to do a lot more history than topical stuff. But I'm kind of liking it from that perspective. Like, if you're going to end up more topical than history, I like hearing a story, but I also like arguing with you.
It is fun.
It is. I learned a lot from last week's episode.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it made this one feel right.
Yeah, no, this is a perfect segue.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, what would she do? What would she think about this?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question.
Those are the types of, when people ask you, like, who would you talk to, alive or dead? Like, if you could talk to 5 people.
Yeah, somebody like that would be.
Yeah, like, how would you like us to preserve these lands?
Yeah. Yeah, would you be happy?
Because even back then, they got that it took a railroad to get people to the land. You can't preserve all of the land or nobody can get there.
Yeah. Yeah, they understood it probably far better than we do now.
Right. And there's not a lot of trash dumps up there that you come across in the middle of the woods comparatively to down south. Like, they cared about it. Mm-hmm. So are we better off sometimes just asking those locals that have probably handed down their appreciation and value of the land in those areas what they think? Like you were saying about that guide that you had.
Yeah.
He wasn't totally against it.
No.
So I don't know if we could figure out how to use this podcast as a platform for some of those people to really voice their opinions. I don't give a fuck what anybody says about the CMP corridor if you don't own land where the CMP corridor is.
Yeah.
Like, everyone bitches about it. We found out last week how many people go fucking visit it. And all of the people, not just Mainers, all of the people is 30,000.
Yeah.
Like,
into the woods and waters, yeah.
So we talk about someplace that is more desolate, and what's the effect on it, you know? I don't know. I'm not against it. I'm not for it. I want to know more about it.
Absolutely.
But Mike's got a call he's got to get on. He's got a new job that he's trying to get. Babies aren't cheap.
No, they're not.
Nope, no. Especially girls.
Yeah.
I've seen Brittany's taste.
Yeah, I'll be spending a lot on clothes.
Yeah.
Actually, we could...
No, don't buy clothes. Everybody buys the clothes.
We bought one thing. We bought a stuffed animal. It's the only thing we had purchased. Everything else has been passed down.
Really?
Yeah. Or that we got from the baby shower.
You kind of have to have the stuffed animal, though.
Oh, yeah.
That's like I said, the history.
It's pivotal, yeah.
Did you name it yet?
No, not yet.
You should name it Jake.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, but I'll propose it to her.
I'm buying your child a one-wheel.
Those are sweet.
I have not heard one person not getting hurt on them.
No, they're scary.
I don't have any interest in trying it.
No, I tried it once. I did not.
Yeah.
Did
Jeff
not
LaRoche got fucked up on that thing.
Yeah, Drew got
fucked up on Jeff, but I'm sure Jeff's gotten fucked up on it too.
Yeah. Yeah,
we gotta have Jeff on.
Yeah.
Jeff's a good one. All right. I hope you guys like this one. If you have any questions about this that I can research further, I'm all ears. I want to do another one on this lady that we dive more into her articles and
absolutely
who she was, because she's a mystical, weird thing on the internet. Like, everything kind of says the same shit about her.
Yeah.
And she was a writer, so all we need to do is read what she wrote.
Yep.
And we'll learn about the lady. So that's what I'm gonna do.
All right.
Next episode, we might have a guest. Our first guest, I hope.
Hopefully.
Really hoping. I want to get a guest in here. So cool. votumnetwork@gmail.com. Votum Network on Instagram. And Mike doesn't do social media because he's smart. See you guys.